All right, well, here goes the formal video because, yeah, I just had one in the clip to go in case the Knicks won the championship. And I had a feeling, regardless of how big any lead got, they still might win. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, what the fuck, San Antonio. Wow. No, that's not the better team. We can put that to bed. That's not the better team in general. That's not the better coached team. Okay, this video, it's not a what's next for the Spurs right now. There's really no need to do a what's next for the Knicks. I mean, technically we could, but you know, just wanted to more give that team props to what they just did to win their first championship in 53 years. The 2026 season was just incredible in general. That I just watched a team really struggle to find their way throughout the year, look like they had 100 obstacles to actually be champions, and then end up still doing it. And so you go back, one of the early videos I have on this channel was talking about the Knicks and the struggles that they had and the problems that they had at that time. A little bit later, I said, okay, hey, they're cleaning it up a little bit, but let's see if they can kind of do it consistently. Then by the time they got to the playoffs, I just kind of felt like, well, anything could happen, but who knows with them, right? It's the Knicks. Then they hit that Hawks series and all hell just broke loose. They were about to go home. I can't really say they were about to go home. They were at serious risk of being put down 3-1, which in the first round this year didn't mean you were going home. They were at risk though. They were at risk and they started playing a different style of basketball and they lost one game after that. Wow. The Jose Alvarado damn near helped them win. No, I'm sorry, not damn near. It did help them win a finals game when the Spurs wanted to have Wemby near the rim and such. And Alvarado's the obvious guy you have him play off of. Alvarado just went to screen. He hit some of his shots and he pulled Wemby out of the paint. It was one of the things they did to make sure he had to guard a ball handler and he couldn't just sit there. And through this series, it was really looking like we might be headed towards an OG Anunoby finals MVP. And Brunson put it away. Brunson scored close to 50 when Cat was in foul trouble and OG had lost all his powers and Mikhail hadn't really done a lot. He just put this team on his back, and I can confidently say, heavily watching playoff series since the year 2008-ish, give or take, a little bit before that as well even. I can't recall off the top of my head a team turning themselves around mid-postseason or during the postseason to become as dominant as they did, really unlocking things, just changing a couple of factors and becoming the steamrolling unit that they were. And it lasted through the Western Conference. They did this in a very important year too. I don't know if you watch my main channel and I do that video every year about which team needs to win the title. And I said specifically for the Knicks, nobody needed it more than them out of the Eastern Conference and maybe out of that entire cohort of teams, I was saying, because we know the Brunson extension is a little bit down the road. A Cat extension is coming up. So yeah, maybe we will do a what's next for the Knicks video, honestly, because this is more about the series right now. But knowing what was down the road for this team and everything they did to get this team together, the pay cuts, the picks for Mikal Bridges, putting this unit together, and you get to this year where the Pacers are not a factor and then the Celtics ended up not being a factor, you just kind of knew this is the shot. And they won the in-season tourney and they won the championship. They won the in-season tourney against the Spurs, bro. This season was actually a movie. I'm going to just have to put together a video like that. I actually been meaning to record that. This season, 2026, just incredible, period. They countered the Spurs at every level. They took Wembanyama and made him look like the 22-year-old raw prospect that he still is. Still a great player, still breaks a lot of rules. Defensively, he's a monster. Probably had 5 or 6 blocks in this game, but he has ways to go. He cannot consistently create his buckets against people his size. It does not happen right now. When he starts a game shooting threes, if they don't go, that's almost a barometer for what type of game he's going to have against a team as good as the Knicks. And the fact that taking him off the floor felt like you had to survive, that was one of the telltale signs of which team was really better here. I know a team, it's not news, right, that a team loses its best player or whatever and they have the same team, but no. He steps off the floor and it's 2 different basketball teams, not just they're a little bit worse or they're a different team. It's literally Spurs A and Spurs B. And with all that being said, they were in position to where they could have won this series. They could have done it early, but this is why it typically doesn't happen early. If you go back and look through most every legend, you will only find a couple, right? And they're really, really old, like past Magic Johnson, and then maybe a couple of before him, guys who either win in their first year or right after their first year. There's a reason this rarely ever happens, and I think you saw every reason. This team is young from the top, by the way, from the coaching staff, or maybe not the entire staff, but to the coach down. They're just a young mentality team, man. Even at the end, everything good Dylan Harper did, I felt like some of the drives were very much just a little bit desperate towards the end of game 5. But therein lies one of the plays they could have snuck out a couple more games here and possibly turned the tie. What did I just watch, bro? I don't understand how the politics of this sport can be that powerful to where everybody who's watching it can say, hey, this guy De'Aaron Fox, you have another guy who can play in his spot, who can take his shots, who can take some of his minutes. Do that. Everyone can see that, and then Mitch Johnson comes out and says before game 5, oh, we're still going to trust him, and the ball's going to be in his hands. And so in this game where Julian Champagnie had hit 5 threes, I think 5-6 threes, instead of him being in the corner at the end of the game when they needed a 3, it was De'Aaron Fox, who hasn't really shot the 3 well since January. My goodness, in the first half, why are so many shots just contested step backs? Why that little stretch in the fourth quarter of this game when Wembanyama came out, because, you know, he comes out for 30-40 seconds at a time. Why did it just, the entire set was De'Aaron Fox dribble into a contested pull-up? How? Yeah, if you're unaware, and that's going to be covered in the, I guess I'm doing it now so I don't have to do it in the what's next for the Spurs video. Fox has a 220 off the top of my head $1 million extension. It's gonna kick in, so it's now kicking in right after this finals. And look, he was dealing with injury. I believe he had an ankle injury or some injury of the sort, so he wasn't really De'Aaron Fox, right? But also, he hasn't been De'Aaron Fox, the one that we remember from the Kings and that magical like the beam run, and really just the Kings in general. He hasn't really been that on San Antonio. And yeah, there are politics in sports. Anybody who plays the sport, anybody who's really around the sport will tell you that. But my goodness, bro, Dylan Harper on both sides of the ball was at least 2 tiers above him. And when you are constantly losing games by a couple of plays, a couple of turnovers, a couple of shots, why on earth are you not mega adjusting? Not just a little bit of adjustments like, okay, we'll keep him on the floor at the same time and here you get 1 or 2 of the shots, Dylan. No, you could really have flipped this series maybe on that point right there. And I'm gonna be asking myself all summer why it turned out the way that it did. You put Dylan Harper in the game, he touches the paint so much more consistently. Back to the Thunder series, I said, you know, De'Aaron Fox, teams and especially elite teams will live with him dribbling into the painted area and then taking a fadeaway. They'll live with that. Sure, he'll hit a 3 every now and then, but again, that's a blessing, especially this game, that it was De'Aaron Fox sitting in the corner and not Champagnie, because yeah, Fox has hit some of those this series, but it could have been Champagnie, who is known for that type of thing. I just don't know on what planet you coach a team in the finals and watch something very obvious like that happening, but because he's being paid a lot. And I've heard, I can't remember who I heard say this. I think they were talking about Rudy Gobert, which it's not as valid with him, but there was some podcast where it was another player. I don't want to misname a player and said they said it, but yeah, they were like, oh yeah, there should be a guy in above him, but Rudy's getting paid, so he's in there. But again, for Rudy literally, guys just hate him at this point, you know? He does change things defensively. There wasn't anything I think Fox was bringing to the table that justified him getting the burn and trust that he got, especially after he basically handed New York that game 4 on a platter. I'm confused, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Spurs section, but for now they have been gentlemen swept in a game where Cat also got fouled out. He had foul trouble, I think, in the last 4 of the 5 games. They had kind of neutralized the biggest things that he had built up throughout this run, where I love what Iman Shumpert called it. He called it cat scanning, or cat scan, where he just kind of holds the ball up and looks for his cutters, looks for his teammates. The Spurs had kind of neutralized that, but I guess you couldn't take both off the table. You can't take that and Brunson off the table. So this group has won a title when they came together, when they traded for Karl Towns. Oh, wow. Looking back in history, we're going to look and say this team won a championship and they were able to swap Julius Randle for Karl Towns. My goodness, I would be stewing in Minnesota right now. If I was a Timberwolves fan, I would, oh, Wow. Yeah, all of it paid off, man. Every little bit of it paid off. All their moves, the coaching change. God, yeah, Thibodeau, right? From Tibbs to Mike Brown, and Mike Brown was more willing to use, to go deeper in his bench, to the point it was almost a fault. Again, he spent a lot of time running the wrong rotations, and that was like one of the last two pieces that really made all this click. And no matter what happens next, it was worth it. This is what it's for. And yeah, I'm pissed because I avoid troll content. I really do avoid just the, we have to say anything right now for views content. I've been doing that for years, and this was the year I chose to go do the fan versus hater thing. And the goal of those is just to win the argument. So you have to just go in there, you facing like 100 people. It's not 100 people, but you have to win the argument. And this was the year I had to step into New York and take on a lot of Knicks fans when they were down, right? And I gloves off, you just go in there, say what the fuck ever, as long as you walk out and people can determine that you won. This was the absolute worst year to indulge in that type of content, but I did it, so gonna have to hold that one. Dom curse, right? Absolute worst fucking possible year. I never do that stuff. And the Knicks break a 53-year title drought with very improbable methods. Go figure, man. Hey, I love the sport. Hell, one thing I did actually agree with, I actually said that in some video leading up to the end of the regular season. I think I agreed with Becky Hammond that you know, Jalen Brunson and the small guard era, you know, winning championships with that just was kind of over. He even took off the table the part where you can say, oh well, the team was built perfectly around him, because that got them there, but he cranked up in the last two games of the series and basically won them the series. That simplifies it a little bit. That more pertains to game 5. But yeah, he took that off the table, and no one can say that. No one's ever gonna be able to say anything. What a team, man. What a team. What a run. 16-3, right? That's gotta be an all-time record. That's up there with the best of them. And the end for the Spurs, Wemby's got to get a lot better. They have to figure out what they're gonna do with their point guard situation, because politically, I guess the guy who has the crazy extension is the one that has to continue to be. Now I get it. Fuck, now I get why Dylan Harper reposted that TikTok that was targeting Fox. I couldn't believe that happened. That would have been a much bigger story 10-15 years ago. He did that and it just blew over, but it makes sense. You know what's funny? Fox would make sense even in this 70-80% of his regular speed version. It would make sense if he had more shooters, because a lot of the time you would see he'd get an open shot, he'll drive, and then an open shot will go to Keldon, or open shot will go to Stephon Castle. Once again, those are guys just hit or miss. We're fine if they shoot it. They're not snipers. They might make some. Hell, one game they might even make too many, but over the course of a series, over the course of a season, there could be better shooters there. That's also part of what lost them this series. And yeah, they just weren't ready. That team, you could just say confidently that team was too young and they weren't ready. They even gave up a rebound on the free throw, on New York's free throw at the end of the game. I think Mitch got Wemby, right? Oh, I cannot believe the things I've seen. Hey, shout out to the Knicks, man. They got one. Boston better rev up that trade machine. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this postseason, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment about what you thought about this series, and hit the subscribe and bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.